Good evening, and welcome to the television graveyard. We are still your TV necromancers, Noah Houlihan and Laura Prince. But this month on Stay Doomed is that most special of months. While others celebrate romance, we celebrate, well, what happens when you don't love movies enough. They get nominated for Razzies, and that's where we are. Welcome to the first movie that has driven us to drink on microphone. Gotti. With me as always is Noah Houlihan.
There's only two ways out of this life. Death or prison. I did both.
Okay, so when doing my research, I kind of understood why they did that line.
Oh, okay. Now, before we get deep into this, I have major issues with this film, and I want to let you know we're probably not going to recap it in order because I think that's impossible.
We could try to recap it in chronological order of events.
You really think you can do that?
Possibly. So one of the things with Gotti, it has the coveted 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well earned.
Which is actually kind of an accomplishment. It got 0. That's not a common thing.
Well, to give it a good score, you'd have to understand this film.
So, 0. And one of the biggest criticisms with the movie, which I agree with, is that it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it really doesn't. Let's try to jump into this. It starts with a scene of John Travolta as John Gotti talking to the camera.
It kind of looks like he's doing his YouTube channel in front of a green screen.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm John Gotti. This is my YouTube channel.
Welcome to Jackass.
Hit that like button.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Smash that like button.
Yeah.
Whack that like button.
Whack that like button. And, become part of the notification mob by ringing that bell. I'm going to play this right now.
Let me tell you something. New York is the greatest fucking city in the world. My city. I was a kid in these streets. I started in a fucking gutter, and I made it to the top. This life ends one of two ways. Dead or in jail. I did both.
All right, so here's the thing. One, he used the F word twice, and he only used 4 sentences.
Right.
Second is that last line. The only way out of this life is prison or death. I did both. Let's start with, I immediately looked at you and went, he thinks people in prison don't die. So,
this is set in front of, an evening New York scene.
Right.
Where he's, standing on, a well-lit bridge or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is supposed to be Gotti talking from the grave.
Right.
So, he did both. He went to jail and he died in jail.
Right.
So he did both.
Now, you said he means the life of a mobster.
Yes.
That's what he means by the life.
Yes.
However...
because they do use that phrase multiple times throughout the film.
And I kind of understood that, and I was like, oh, okay, this kind of makes sense. However, he goes to prison and then dies of cancer.
Yes.
The mob does not kill him.
Right.
So he did not do both. He went to prison to get out of the life.
And then he died. I mean, he didn't go back to the life after prison, I guess.
No, it was a life sentence.
I think it was a couple life sentences.
It was 5 life sentences. Because this is the only good line in the entire film is, we're going to...
when he's indicted.
It's when he's indicted. This is the end of the film.
Or no, when he's... the verdict is read.
The verdict is read, that's right. And it's...
John Joseph Gotti has been found guilty. Your sentence will be 5 life terms to be served consecutively with no possibility of parole. In addition, you will also be assessed the $50 in court fees. You have anything to say?
Yeah, Your Honor. The 5 lifetime bids, that's okay, but the $50 surcharge, you really know how to stick it to a guy.
Which is a ballsy thing to say to a judge who just who just condemned you.
I mean, I guess your feeling is, well, what do you got to lose now? And it plays into something we don't see much of, but we hear a lot about, of Gotti being a charming everyman. which the film tries to sell us, but it's very much through tell, not show.
Yeah, they don't show us anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much through tell.
Because
People tell us how great Gotti is.
after Gotti tells you that he did Boat, Pitbull starts rapping.
Yeah, guys, the composer of this film, and when I looked it up, there was a solid 2.5 minutes of me trying to tell Noah, because I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah.
The composer of this film is Mr. Worldwide!
Yeah, it's Gotti featuring Pitbull. Hey, yay, yay, we're gonna have a good time. Don't
No, it's a
stop
song
the
about,
party.
It's a song about, like, killing cops. Which, like, Pitbull's
Yeah.
the most corporate rapper I can think of.
Yeah, I'll get copyright stripes if I... stripes. I'll get copyright strikes if I include it. So there's a link to it somewhere. Because, God, you gotta hear this song.
As your friend, I would like to remind you, please don't play it at your job. And if your job involves children, please don't play it at your job.
Yeah, don't play it at all. You don't want to get the song stuck in your head.
See, to me, it wasn't that memorable.
I have no idea how it goes. So
The first thing I noticed is they talk about making your bones.
yeah.
So, where are my Riverdale kids at?
Ugh.
Season 2 had Archie, like, becoming a mobster, and it was somehow a more coherent plot than this one. Mm-hmm. And you know how my feelings of the Riverdale writing post-season 1 are. The writing's bad. But making your bones and becoming made is, like, a big plot point in Riverdale Season 2.
Yeah.
And yet this is somehow dumber than Season 2 of Riverdale.
I'm going to try to give you the first couple scenes of this movie. We have first him talking to camera, introducing his YouTube video.
Yes.
Talking about how he did Boat. Then it's his first time whacking a guy. Mm-hmm. And it goes well, so then he's in. Then it's him in prison.
Yeah, with, like, extensive plastic surgery issues.
Yeah, well, because he has cancer.
Yeah, but we don't really know what kind of cancer yet.
Oh, I believe he says it's jaw cancer.
It's throat cancer.
Oh, throat
We
cancer.
don't know what it is yet.
Because he says...
He says it later.
And I have to include this as well. It's...
Can you believe the way they bring me in here? Like I'm Hannibal the fucking cannibal or something. I got the trifecta. I got jaw, neck, and throat. They took my tit and they put it on my face. I only do one-arm push-ups because they took the whole chest muscle out.
It's fucking butchers.
My body betrayed me, John, but not my mind and not my heart. That'll never happen. I'm still here, John. I'm still motherfucking these guys at every turn. So, what's up?
What do you mean, so what's up?
I guess they're clearly trying to market Gotti as, like, he's a badass.
No!
Got ourselves a badass over here.
This sounds like he's from The Room.
This
Oh,
whole
hi, Mark.
this whole movie sounds like it's from The Room. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if this is The Room in 10 years.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. It's so incoherent, though.
But it's loud, and it's violent, and it's funny in a lot of ways where
Yeah.
not on purpose. I could see this becoming The
Maybe.
Room.
So...
Because there were a few moments we had to pause because we were laughing. And it was clearly not played for laughs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this... I laughed harder during this movie than at any point during the Happy Time Murders.
Yeah.
And I actually did enjoy the Happy
I
Time
love
Murders.
the Happy Time Murders.
I felt more during the Happy Time Murders than I did during this movie.
So... He's talking to his son in prison. And his son is considering taking a plea deal.
For what we don't know.
For what we don't know. And Gotti's like, hey, if you say you're innocent, I believe you. If you take this plea deal, like, they're not going to let you go. And he's like, but I just want to see my family. I want to be able to provide. I want closure in this whole incident.
I want to see my kids grow up.
And then we cut to something else.
We cut to a flashback of John Gotti and his children visiting... Or, John Gotti's wife and children visiting him in prison. Shortly before Halloween.
At this point, I don't understand if the conceit of the movie is this is Gotti's YouTube channel and he's talking to us, or this is like him going through his life with his son to help his son make a decision about whether or not to take a plea deal.
Right.
Do you know? Because I don't know.
I think the movie thinks it's doing both.
You can't do both.
Well, I think the movie thinks it does. I know you can't. This is a common thread in this film, is conceits that are picked up and then dropped. And maybe they're brought back later, but not necessarily. Mm-hmm. At one point, when he starts introducing more characters, there is 2 or 3 scenes where who they are pops up on screen as like a caption in front of them. Pipe. That only happens 2 or 3 times, and then there's a bunch of people we never figure out who they are.
On top of that, it happens so late in the movie that we've already missed like 6 or 7 characters.
Yes, like I said, it's a conceit that's abruptly picked up and then dropped.
It's just, it's a mess. This film is a mess.
Yes.
And like, there's a moment in this film where a bunch of stuff is happening, and then they cut back and they're in the prison scene again with the son. And the way the camera moves and the way it's lit, it looks like the film Primer.
Okay.
And at this point, we had jumped so many times around the timeline that I was like, this feels like Primer. Like, I'm confused. Time travel is happening, maybe? I don't know anyone's names. Like, it was utter madness.
Yeah, in the movie, the sound design is actually kind of decent in this movie. Mm-hmm. They do a lot of using songs to tell you what time period we're in, and it almost works. You're kidding. You have to be kidding. The sound design in this is miserable. No, I kind of like the sound design in this. I kind of like...
need to have words.
I mean, look, it's Pitbull. He's trying his best.
Are you specifically talking about the music here?
The different songs they use?
Yeah.
Yes, because I think they do it... No one can see that face.
I had a rage stroke saying that the music in this film was good.
I actually think the sound design does what it's trying to do in certain ways. Mm-hmm. In certain ways, I think it's trying to set where it is in time. And it's occasionally effective.
All right.
Occasionally effective is...
I would like to point out
damning with faint praise.
Do you recall the part where he's in court and he's deemed not guilty, and it cuts to fireworks and Pitbull's Fireball plays?
I didn't say they were all winners.
Can you find the part in your notes where a car explodes and you write, I think this song is by The Lonely Island?
I don't need to look for it. I know where that is in my notes.
Yeah, because that's a thing that we wrote down. We had an argument of whether or not it sounded like Lonely Island or The Flight of the Conchords. Not good. Either way, it sounds like Inner City Pressure.
It also sounds like parts of Jizz in My Pants.
Yeah. That actually should give you an idea what this song sounds like perfectly.
Like, meld those two songs together. Again, not at work. Mm-hmm. Don't listen to this podcast at work. Yeah. If you're listening to this at work, you've probably already gotten fired.
Yeah. How about the part where there's murders to Silent Night? Literally the most cliche Christmas carol to play during a murder?
Was it Silent Night? Yeah, it was. Yeah. You're right.
Well, it's not the only time they play a Christmas carol during a murder.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
So what was so good about it?
I thought they occasionally got the time period correct.
Okay.
Occasionally.
Ooh.
To be fair, I made this note in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Okay.
A lot of this hadn't gone real bad yet.
We're going to jump around a lot because, hell, the movie did.
Yeah, one of the big issues with the movie that critics had and that I had was that it jumps around so much, you don't actually know where anybody is in time.
Nope.
And John Jr. is played by the same actor throughout the film, which doesn't really help you very much.
Nope.
Because they don't do a good job of making him look substantially different from age to age. So he's 16, he's like in his 20s, and he's like 40 at the end.
He's in his 40s.
And he's played by the same 25-year-old dude for the entirety of it. And to make him look 40, they gave him the glasses they give a hot guy who's supposed to be a hacker in like...
Yes! He's the guy in the van.
Yeah, like, think Chris Evans in The Losers. Think Hayden Christensen anytime he has to play a smart guy.
The Scarecrow.
No, he's objectively hot. Glasses or no glasses.
So, but
shout out to Shelley Snyder for Cillian Murphy.
There's one more thing about the sound design I have to talk about.
Mr. Worldwide. It's
not Mr. Worldwide. There's the scene where they are celebrating the fact that John Gotti got out of prison. His son sees a beautiful woman and says, "Excuse me, but if I don't say hello to you right now, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life."
Yeah.
And she's like, "You know who I am. We've met before." And she's like, "I'm sorry, I'm stupid." And then we see her no more times in the film until their wedding.
Correct.
And at their wedding, during the first dance, they dance to a song about how much the son loves his father.
Well, I actually think that was a strong choice because it kind of sets up every time we've seen a funeral scene, every time Gotti mentions going to a lot of weddings. He's the bride at every wedding and the corpse at every funeral. Like, everything's about him, including his son's wedding.
Okay.
That's why he's the first one to get up and dance. Also, the bride and groom dancing alone for the entire song is a relatively recent construct. They used to only dance for part of the song, and then other couples came up and joined them. Sometimes the wedding party, sometimes the families, sometimes all couples.
Okay.
But then with the wedding industry, every bride's like, "No, me now."
Yeah. So that song is like Little Pal or something. Okay, I can understand that maybe they were going for something.
Yeah, I thought they were going for everything. Because, like, there's very little focus on Junior and Kimberly?
His wife.
Yeah, Junior and his wife, who I think is Kimberly. And
if you got a name out of that, bless you.
This is a common issue with the female characters in this movie. Gotti and his wife, Victoria, have 2 daughters. Mm-hmm. I will give you $5 if you can name either of them.
I didn't know he had 2 daughters. I can think of one scene that the 2 daughters are in where they're crying. But I have no idea who the daughters are.
They're in a few. They're in a few scenes. They are Victoria and Angel.
I would have never guessed those names.
I might have guessed Victoria because it's also his wife's name.
Yeah, okay.
But I just Googled it because they're never named in the movie. He has 3 sons. Frankie.
Yes, we gotta talk about Frankie.
John Jr. Mm-hmm. And the other one.
And the other one. And the ugly one.
Yeah, and the Peter Gotti Jr., who I have to... Okay, so I Googled Gotti's children just now.
Yeah.
And there is a picture of John A. Gotti, who is John Jr.
Yes.
There is a picture of Victoria Gotti. There's a picture of Frankie Gotti's grave. Mm-hmm. There's a picture of Angel Gotti. And then Peter Gotti is literally like the you don't have a profile picture Facebook picture. So that tells you how important he was to this film, or just in general, I guess. Yeah. Poor Peter Gotti.
So, Freddie.
Hashtag justice for Peter.
Frankie?
Frankie,
we got to talk about what happens to him. And here's the thing.
This is a very prolonged scene. So first we have a scene with Frankie.
But before we even get to that, it's a scene of we're back in the prison.
Right.
And Johnny Jr. is like, I got to be there with my family. I want to be there to provide. And Gotti says, be there with your family. Be there to provide. Do I got to say it? Do I even got to say it? And then it cuts to a scene where Frankie's afraid of the dark.
Yeah, they're sending John Jr. to military school.
Right.
It's like apparently a prestigious military school. It's a big deal. But he shares a room with his little brother, who is now afraid to sleep alone. Mm-hmm. And John Gotti says that, like, you can sleep with the lights on. Victoria's like, no, turn the lights off. But John Gotti says his son can sleep with the lights on. Initially, before this story shook out, I thought this was there to kind of humanize Gotti, because we're still in about the first third of the film.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, they're trying to, paint Gotti as the family man, and he cares what his kids are for Halloween, and he cares that his son's afraid of the dark. But really, this is just so we remember Frankie exists.
Yeah. Because here's the point I was kind of hunting towards, was Gotti says, do I even have to say it? And then it cuts to the scene of Frankie in the dark. What's the thing that he has to say? Is it, yo, your brother died? Because that's not helpful for whatever situation they're talking about.
Yeah, so we're actually right after that, we cut to a scene that cuts between three scenes. Mm-hmm. It's Frankie riding his bike in the street.
Yeah.
A car.
Yes.
Just a guy driving his car that we don't know. And a pastoral scene of the Gottis preparing Sunday dinner.
Yeah.
Just the classic, Italian family.
Sunday night's family night.
Yeah, making, Sunday gravy, I believe, would be the term. For anyone not from this area, that would be marinara sauce.
Yes.
So, we then, see a agonizingly long scene. Mm-hmm. Cutting between these three things. We know what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that kid's dead. Oh, he's going to get hit by that car.
And it's so long.
It is super long. And
especially because the sudden brutality of what happens is supposed to be the jarring aspect. Mm-hmm. When a child dies in that fashion, part of the main grief about it is that it's sudden and brutal and everyone's kind of just blindsided. Instead, this is a very long setup to this.
Because I actually said, ooh, they're going to kill a kid. Come on, director. Do something amazing to show this kid getting killed. And it was the front of a car and the sound of brakes. And it's like, oh, that's the thing everybody does.
I mean, I think the movie was already violent enough without, anything graphic. Mm-hmm.
It's just... it's remarkably unspecial and remarkably unimpactful. Because on top of that, they run out to the kid and they show him laying there and he's moving and stuff.
I mean, so he just didn't die instantly.
Yeah, but
I mean, the next time we see them, they're in the hospital. So we establish he doesn't die immediately.
But it's not like a, ooh, I'm in pain. It's not a... I'm loopy. He's not completely unconscious. It's just kind of meh. That was the best take you had? Was him just kind of T-Rex arming?
I mean, this was probably a 10-year-old. I'm not gonna be too hard on him.
Use a body. Use a dummy. Because this was dumb. He's looking around at shit.
I mean, I'm trying to be sensitive because this was a real person who died, and...
Oh, it's sad that this kid died. Don't get me wrong. But you have 100 people working on a movie. There's the actor, there's the director, there's the editor. You could have fixed it so it didn't look like a kid was laying on the ground bored.
I think a better way to show it would have actually been... to hear the accident from inside the Gotti house.
Yeah.
To see kind of that... The cliche is always impact and you see the birds.
Yes.
It might be interesting to see the impact is the entire rest of the Gotti family stops what they're doing with their Sunday dinner. Mm. And then Victoria realizes it's her son.
Yeah, I mean, she does, look out the window and sees the people run.
Right.
And, honest, if I was the editor, if I was the director, I would have had her run out and then cut to the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't need...
Because that shot is bad. It's a bad shot.
It's also just, a little unnecessary. Like a lot of the things in this movie, it treats the viewer as being very dumb. Mm-hmm. I think that we could have discerned that he was hit by the car because they spend almost 5 minutes telegraphing it.
Yeah, the only thing that shot of him on the ground like gives us is the driver says the sun was in my eyes.
Right.
And I believe it's at this point that I looked at you and said, "Who directed this?"
And it's Turtle from Entourage.
It totally seems like this movie would be perfect as an in-universe movie for Entourage as made by Turtle. Like, yo, I'm going to make a movie. It's going to be a biopic on Gotti, but I'm going to make him this badass. And it's going to have Pitbull as the soundtrack. And it's going to make him look so tough the whole time.
Oh, excuse me. He's not Turtle. He's Eric.
Still.
Turtle is a different guy.
Still, that being said, it seems like a guy from Entourage made this movie.
He's the boring guy from Entourage.
Oh, damn. It makes more sense that it was Turtle.
Yeah, it's not Turtle or Johnny Drama. If this was Johnny Drama, I'd be like, this makes sense.
So, they cut to the hospital, and they do this like very artistic shot where Gotti's by himself and the family's all together, and they're separated by a wall. And the doctor comes out and shakes his head. We don't hear what he says. He just shakes his head, puts a hand on his shoulder. And then the direction is, John Travolta, we need you to show that you're sad. So he bites his fist, and we explode with laughter.
Oh yeah, this is when we had to... Oh, it was not good.
This is where I start pretending that this movie is a sequel to Grease. And this is just Danny Zuko.
Oh, and
as
the
a
song,
mobster.
The song is really overwrought.
Is it? I forget
In this.
what it
It's
is.
like an overwrought 70s song. It doesn't really fit the moment very well. Mm-hmm. And we see this almost split screen because we see the divide with the wall. And Gotti's in focus. His wife and daughters are out of focus in the background of a shot with Angelo, his best friend, who is important, pacing in front of him.
Yes, we haven't talked much about Angelo yet, but we will.
Really, at this point, all you need to know is Angelo and Gotti are best friends.
Yes. All right, we're done. That's pretty much all you need to hear.
I mean, we'll get to more in the plot.
Yeah. So, Frankie has passed. Gotti's real upset, but he's got to get the family to move on.
We have this scene where Junior comes home from military school and, like, his dad embraces him and says, like, be strong for your mother.
Yes.
And then we see Junior unable to sleep in the room that he and his little brother shared. And he comes down the stairs to his father hysterically crying.
Yes.
Which is another thing where they're trying to humanize Gotti as a family man.
Yes. I feel like they did a terrible job humanizing Gotti because, like, he kills two people in the very beginning of the movie, one of which whose face we never see. Mm-hmm. Like, so we don't even know why he's getting killed. And, like, anytime they try to humanize him, they dehumanize him immediately.
Right.
Because there's a scene where someone comes up to him and is like, I'm not working out anymore. Tully's is closed. And he's like, Tully's is reopened. I just did that. I'm John Gotti.
But we don't ever see Tully's reopen?
We don't ever see it happen. And then they hug. And it's like, oh, look, it's Gotti doing good for the community. He takes 2 steps forward and says, I want you to tell that guy that I will decapitate him.
Not the guy he just talked to, but he's talking about a different guy.
Yeah, he just immediately goes back to planning a vicious murder. And it's like, oh, well, nah.
I think we're supposed to think he's a little better because both of the murders we've seen at this point, he has left a bystander alive.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, you're right.
In the first one, he leaves the bartender alive. Mm-hmm. And in the second one, he leaves the guy's mistress alive.
Yeah, or a prostitute, perhaps.
I mean, why are you assuming she's a sex worker?
I'm assuming it because when they come in, Gotti tells her to shush, and she says nothing. If she cared at all about the man in the shower, she would have cared that he was being killed.
Oh, you overestimate what people will do to spare their own lives. Mistress might
She
not.
doesn't even look scared.
She does.
She's like, oh, people are coming in. Oh, they have guns. I'm just gonna cover myself with my blanket.
I mean, how aware are you going to be if somebody walks in while you're still naked in bed, you know?
That's just how I read it. If I'm wrong, but they're in a seedy motel.
Yeah. You know, where one might meet a mistress.
Okay.
So, I put, the scene in Frankie's bedroom is so that we remember he had multiple kids.
Mm-hmm.
Gotti's reaction, his line about his son's death.
Oh my god, yeah, this is a super upsetting line.
We're going to play that right now.
John, we can't know why God lets these things happen, but there has to be a reason.
The reason for these things. He was 12 years old. He didn't have hair on his prick. There ain't no fucking reason. There ain't no fucking God. Don't say another word.
What? Why would that be what you said about
Yeah.
your dead child?
He's 12, and, like, I'm no doctor. But I had hair at 12, so that kind of sounds like he checked.
That's not the thing I find upsetting about that. Like, you could be like, oh my god, he was 12, he never made it to high school, he never got his first kiss, he never, he never got to go to college. All of these, like, really innocent milestones that's okay for a parent to talk about.
Yeah.
I'll never see him get married, I'll never see him...
Yeah. No, that's
get
not what he
kids.
went with.
Yeah, no. Blech.
It's super gross. So much, every line that Gotti says is, like, unnecessarily disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, it's always filled with profanity. And, like, I don't, maybe it's because I come from a place of stand-up comedy, where if you use too much profanity, it just shows that you're not a great comedian.
Right.
Like, those are things that if you're going to swear with purpose, and he never does. And, like, John Travolta never gets to the point where he's doing an impression of Gotti. Because an impression is an exaggeration of certain elements. He never embodies Gotti.
Right.
He's always just kind of doing this over-the-top impression of him.
He's always John Travolta being Gotti.
Yes. It's a bad time.
Yeah.
So after that line, I'm trying to think of something else I can remember that's important.
I made a comment at this point in my notes. Every cultural touchstone they attempt to use is weird and, like, would need to be Googled.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, what's that movie you like? With spaghetti. I don't know. Meatballs. So he's trying to use meatballs as a cultural touchstone. That's not the movie I would think of.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, to be fair, 1979 was not exactly a banner year for films. And I'm looking at the top 10 films of the year, and to be fair, it would be hard to find one that a kid would see outside of the Muppet movie.
Yeah, and I could see them not wanting to bring up Muppets because Disney wouldn't be happy about that.
Because Disney loves suing people.
Yeah. So, I guess the next thing that we should talk about is he plans a hit on Paul, who is the leader of the family.
No, the next thing he does is he takes his family to Florida to see her family to help clear their heads. And then, while they're away, the guy who hit Frankie is mysteriously murdered.
See, I had major problem with this because we're supposed to be humanizing Gotti here in that he loved his son.
Right.
And, like, there's, like, it's trying to get you to almost understand why it's okay to kill this innocent man who made a mistake.
Right.
And what they do is they show a police report, or a reporter saying, the owner of this diner saw a bunch of men come out and club this man and throw him in a trunk to kill him. Mm-hmm. The diner owner reported this and then rescinded it after a group of mobsters came and stared at him for an entire day.
Right.
After that, he rescinded his comments, said he never saw it, and sold the diner and moved away.
Yes.
So, the guy who owned the diner is getting his life destroyed for no reason other than the sloppiness of the mobsters.
Right.
The same way that the son died because of the sloppiness of the driver. So you've lost any credibility of like, no, this is just justice. Because yet another innocent person is ruined for no reason.
Yeah. So this is about our third Christmas scene. The other three have not been, or the other two have not been important, but this one is, because Gotti and Angelo have had a conversation about how they don't like who's currently running the family. Paul.
Gotti has had a conversation about how he doesn't like anybody. But continue.
He doesn't, but like, they're not important right now. So they're having they're orchestrating a hit on Paul.
Right.
And pretty much everyone in the car with him.
Yes, they're going to hit Paul, and they're going to hit everyone he's with and leave no witnesses. Other than those doing their Christmas shopping, which is something he says specifically.
Yeah, it's a very weird thing. It's in Midtown Manhattan. Not in broad daylight, but like early evening. Like they say this is reservations at 8 or something.
I believe it's at 6.
Yeah, so he's reservations like in the early evening. Mm-hmm. And like Manhattan's not a great place right at this point. Midtown Manhattan is not what it is right now.
Right.
Midtown Manhattan actually used to be very dangerous and perceived as very dangerous.
Huh.
Pre-Giuliani, I believe, there was this very like seedy, before it was very Disney, very corporate, very Broadway, it was much more, there was a lot of crime. I actually teach a lesson on this.
Okay.
When I teach Watchmen.
Okay.
About what New York was at that time.
Okay, it wasn't a great place.
No, this part of New York was not the essential whitewashed Disney World, corporate, bright lights, big city that it is today.
Okay.
That being said, I think this was still like, wow, sure were a lot of witnesses.
Yeah.
Hanging around.
I mean,
while all these guys get shot in the face.
The way they get away with it is they all wear like those big Russian hats.
Yeah.
Because they actually say like all they're going to remember is these wacky hats.
Yeah.
And that's the plan. And it works.
Which is kind of silly.
Yeah.
Oh, we got these wacky hats. Like this sounds like that something Boris and Natasha would do to get Moose and Squirrel.
Yeah, kind of.
Like, we will wear these Russian hats, Natasha.
Yeah, they'll never recognize us. So they kill Paul, and someone has to now be in charge of the families.
And because it's Gotti's movie, it's Gotti.
And it's Gotti. And everyone's super happy about it, except for like 2 or 3 people who are upset Paul is dead. But apparently, like...
And then we get another, like, newsreel. We got one in the beginning, but we use a lot of old 70s and 80s news footage.
Yeah.
Peppered in with magazine covers with Travolta's face badly photoshopped in.
Yeah, there's 3 ways they do the news footage. It's either new footage that they filmed, old footage that from the actual like news reports on Gotti, or actual news reports on Gotti with John Travolta shopped in.
I mean, the second and the third are the same thing. We never see the real faces of anyone.
We do occasionally. Like, towards the end we start to, and it's really jarring.
Yeah. Because they don't... Well, toward the end we do, but at this point we really have only seen... But they're using, like, archival footage of, like, Tom Brokaw.
Yeah. And then with John Travolta's face.
Yeah, like, badly digitized in. This movie only had a budget of about $10 million.
Wow.
This was a passion project for John Travolta.
Oh, I was about to say how far Travolta has fallen, because I wouldn't think he would get... You know, he would do a movie for cheap.
No, he wanted to do this movie that badly. This was his passion project. His real wife plays Victoria.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. You know, his last passion project was Battlefield Earth, right?
Yeah, his passion products don't seem to be doing that great.
Yeah.
Maybe do some more musicals, John Travolta.
Yeah,
It seems to be working out for you better.
Yeah. So yeah, they kill Paul. He becomes the head of the crime family.
And we see 2 other guys who maybe they got names. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say because we jump around the timeline.
We jump around the timeline a lot, and it's so many men wearing suits that we only see once. Mm-hmm. That you only really remember important ones like Sammy the Bull.
Yeah.
And Angelo. And they talk about how they know Gotti arranged Paul's death, and they say it can't go unchecked, and then they are promptly killed in a car bomb.
Yes.
Making this 2 for 2 on car bombs in the Razzies this year.
There's a lot of car bombs in the Razzies.
And this is when we see the song that sounds like The Lonely Island or Flight of the Conchords.
Yes. Now, there a hit goes out on, I believe, Gas Pipe.
Yeah.
And Gas Pipe survives it, hangs the guy up in chains, and forces a confession that it came from Angelo,
right,
who is Gotti's friend.
Right. And Gotti essentially, for want of a better term, grounds him.
Well, the rest of the families want to kill him, and
right.
Gotti's like, no, Angelo's like my brother. So what they do is they put him on the shelf for life, which means that he's not allowed to be in the mob anymore.
Right.
Right? Okay. Is it me, or at the beginning of this film, were we told that the only way out was prison or death or time out forever? That's 3 ways you get out of this life.
I mean, he got grounded.
No, but this is kind of a big deal. Is the fact that the reason his punishment is he had to stop being in the mob where everyone's murdering each other. Like, it's not, there's no scene where he's like, well, here's all the stock I have in Mafia back. He's still in his house. Like, that's the best case scenario I can think of.
You done?
Can you argue with me?
I wasn't trying to.
I'm just like, it super bothers me.
Yeah, I can't believe you can't believe this movie's not well written. Like, I can't believe that you're still, like, surprised.
I believe it. It doesn't mean it's less upsetting.
So then we see old Gotti and Jr., we see Gotti go to trial and be found not guilty, Walk Like an Egyptian plays so that we know it's the 80s.
Yes.
We don't even know what Gotti's been indicted for at that time. And then we see a third Christmas Eve scene.
It's always Christmas.
Or maybe a fourth.
Yeah.
Literally, in my notes, I'm not even sure.
Or the same one. We have no idea.
No, they are different. We do see substantial differences. And so then John Jr. is led by 2 other guys who maybe we know, I don't, to, like, the Council of Elders.
Yes.
In the Mafia. And he takes a blood oath, and then is led to his father and introduced as his new soldier.
Yes. I would like to stress, because this will come up later in the planned freakout section of this movie, that he says, this is the proudest moment of my life.
Yep, he does say that.
Continue, Laura.
Okay. So then the next thing we see is that about a year later, Angelo has died of cancer. Gotti thinks he has died of a broken heart.
Yes.
And Gotti, like, talks to Angelo's grave about how he messed up.
No, he doesn't. What he said... Well...
He does say, you messed up.
Yeah,
well,
Yeah, I just want to clarify. It's not Gotti saying he messed up. It's him telling Angelo that he messed up.
Right.
So it's, hey, I know you're dead, but you're still wrong, and I'm not sorry. Later.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I meant. I was not saying...
I just wanted to clarify.
Okay. We're going to turn the hostility down just a little.
I will try.
And then we cut to the Plaza Hotel. I figured out this was, like, probably the year Home Alone 2 was shot. We do not see Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, we do not see Donald Trump or Macaulay Culkin or Rob Schneider.
Or Tim Curry, which is a shame.
Great. It would have been an amazing bit to just have, like, Macaulay Culkin, like, today Macaulay Culkin being chased by today's Rob Schneider just in the background. It's Home Alone 2.
That would have been an amazing thing that I totally get why they didn't do, because it would be very distracting. But at the same time, it would have been really funny. It's Junior's wedding.
Yes, it's Junior's wedding.
He marries the young lady we met an hour ago in a brief scene.
Yes. And this is where my little pal plays.
Yeah, and I actually, man, Gotti was the bride at every wedding and the corpse at every funeral. And then we kind of, like, crash course to the end of the movie.
Yeah.
We find out that Sammy the Bull has bugged Gotti. So he has tapes. John Gotti is sentenced to 5 life sentences. He dies of cancer in jail. And then we see this, like, giant motorcade and people watching who salute his casket. There are flowers everywhere. And we see, like, testimonials from his supporters who allege he kept the neighborhood safe. And we see weird shopped-in stuff of Travolta. And then we go to Junior's trial. And Victoria has a temper tantrum in the courtroom about how they're going after her son the way they went after her husband.
Yes. Something that would have gotten her thrown out before she got more than 6 words out.
Yeah, like, she really does fly off the handle. And I don't think this would have held up in court.
Not at all.
And then, Junior is acquitted. Oh, excuse me. Gotti goes back to narrating from the grave.
Yes.
And then, the postscript is how, Junior is actually acquitted of all charges because they couldn't find enough to pin to him. But in trying to pin things on Junior, they let a bunch of violent criminals out in the streets who took plea deals, which the movie makes sure to tell us.
Yes. I want to just talk real quick about how this movie portrays Gotti Jr.
Okay.
Because I believe you did some research about his involvement in the film.
Yes. The film was actually originally titled Gotti in the Shadow of My Father.
Really? That makes a lot of sense.
So it was really always a movie about Junior and his father.
Because it's really his film. Mm-hmm. So I want to just real quick go through...
Al Pacino was supposed to be Gotti, and Ben Foster, who you know is Angel from X-Men The Last Stand, was supposed to be John Jr., and Lindsay Lohan was supposed to be Victoria. Now think about that. Lindsay Lohan, who's at this point might have been 30,
yeah,
but probably wasn't, was going to play the wife of Al Pacino.
Oh my god.
Oh, excuse me. Lindsay's 30 now.
Oh my god.
She's 32 right now. She's a little older than me, which means at that point, she would have been roughly 25.
Yes, and Al Pacino, I believe, is 108. Based on how he looks and sounds.
Al Pacino is 78, which means he would have been 70. She would have been...
I can't believe I was only off by 30 years with my joke answer.
So we would have had the situation of she is 25 and he is 70, and they would have been playing a married couple.
Yes.
Who were not that far away from each other in age.
Yeah, she's young enough to be his granddaughter.
Yeah, like...
So, let me just... Oh man, that information is killing me right now. How long did it take for this movie to get made?
8 years.
Jeez. Should have took some more time. So, the story that they kind of try to tell of John Gotti Jr. is he's growing up. He's getting straight A's.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go to college.
Right.
So, because he kind of wants to hang out. Because the line is like, you want to hang out with me? And Junior doesn't respond. And Gotti just kind of kisses him on the forehead. So that's him kind of being like, yeah, I want to get in the business.
Yeah.
He then goes to like a military academy. He gets into a fist fight because someone he speaks bad about his father.
Right.
And his father says to him,
You show up? Yeah, I'd say so. Attaboy. Stood your ground, right? You didn't back off. Good. Never do that. Never take a backward step.
Do you know what that is? That phrase, never take a step backwards?
Isn't that what they tell baby faces in wrestling?
Yeah, that's the golden rule for baby faces in professional wrestling. Is baby faces don't take a step backwards because that's showing fear. That is what we're going for here, is that John Gotti Jr. is the baby face we're supposed to be cheering for here. All right? And he's always kind of like looking up to his father, following his father. He wants to basically be his father. And then they get to this courtroom scene at the end.
Right.
Where they say, this is John Gotti Jr. Taxpayer money has been paid to try to keep him in prison. Mm-hmm. He's paid for his sins. He's trying to walk away from this life.
Right.
Let him walk away. It's time. Let him walk away. And then they let him out of prison. 2 major problems.
Okay.
If John Gotti Jr. had something to do with this film, then he included the part where he says joining the mafia is the proudest moment of his life. So, he's guilty.
Okay.
Because that's him saying, like, I'm proud to be doing the things that the mafia does.
Okay.
So they go through this, like, weird rigmarole to make sure that we never really get what he's going to jail for. Like, we don't know what the charges are.
Yeah, I mean, John Gotti Jr. does have criticisms about this film.
Oh, I'd love to hear these criticisms.
He felt the movie was too short. He felt it should have been a 10-part series. And he was also upset that the movie was so low budget. Mm-hmm. Because he felt that it deserved a higher budget. Mm-hmm. And he did like Travolta's appearance.
Okay.
Or he did like Travolta's performance. But he said that Travolta overreacted sometimes that weren't in his father's personality.
Right. Here's my other issue, though, with that happening, right? Mm-hmm. The end of the movie is supposed to almost be like... They do mention that, like, all the criminals that got let out on the street to testify against John Gotti Jr. But the end message is John Gotti Jr. is a good man.
Right.
He's walked away from the life and now is an upstanding citizen. You know what that's not? Prison or death. This is a fourth way out of the life. You can either go to prison, you can die, you can get put on the shelf for life, or you can just not do it anymore. The opening line is a lie. And he did fourth. It's ridiculous how badly written this film is.
I mean, this had some really big issues. They were supposed to release this December 15th, 2017. This is supposed to be a 2017 release.
Okay.
But they kind of ended up with this issue of Lionsgate just decided to not do it. Lionsgate was like, nah, how do you feel about direct-to-DVD?
Did this not get a theatrical release?
Stay with me.
Okay.
It was supposed to get a limited and VOD release, but the producers bought the rights back from Lionsgate, kind of being like, no, we'd like to get it a real release. So then, in March 2018, they got that, and then in June, it actually did have a theatrical run.
Okay. All right.
It was not in theaters for very long, from what I understand.
I'm guessing it did not do very well.
I'm gonna look up the box office mojo for it right now.
All right.
Okay, so on a $10 million budget, it made, in its opening weekend, 1.7 million. And it was only in theaters for 39 days.
Wow.
And it made $4.3 million in its total run.
So not even half its budget.
Not even half its budget. Not even half of its fairly low budget.
Yeah.
So, and they kind of did a big marketing blitz about the 0% Rotten Tomatoes rating. About how, like, it's the movie critics don't want you to see.
Oh, yeah.
They did not screen this film for critics.
Okay.
So,
that makes sense.
By the time Rotten Tomatoes got to it, it was in release because they didn't do a critical screening because it wasn't very good.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, that's a it's actually a TV trope, not screened for critics.
Yeah.
And, like, there's not a lot of good movies in there.
No.
Turns out.
No. It's because they know it's bad.
I think the big thing with this movie is the wild inconsistency.
Yeah, I don't understand what it's trying to do. Because, like, with a mafia movie, there's really two directions you can go. You can do, he's really a good person, but he got mixed up in the mob.
Right.
Which they do not do in this film. Because they don't show him doing anything good. And everything he does in the mob, he is ruthless and enjoys.
Right.
The other way you can kind of do it is the mob takes a certain type of ruthless person, but it's a brotherhood.
Okay.
There are rules, and it's about respect. They also don't do this in this movie because John Gotti hates everyone, breaks all the rules, kills all the people he's not supposed to kill because of his lust for power.
Right.
So, I don't know why we're supposed to like him. Because at the end, when Gotti goes to prison, they talk about how his supporters start, like, rebelling and flipping cars because he's such a good person. But we literally never see that.
Yeah.
So, like, by the end of this movie, I don't know what he did that was good.
We are told but not shown that he was really helpful to the community.
Yeah. I can't name a thing he did that was good. But at the same time, I can't name a thing that he did was bad. Because he only killed people in the mob. So, like...
I mean, he arranged for the guy who hit his son to die.
They kind of explicitly show him saying not to do it. There's, like, a moment where, like, he could have been like, accidents happen or something like that. But they're also trying to justify that as a righteous kill because he killed a child.
Okay.
Like, we never know why he's going to jail.
Right.
Like, what did he do or not do that was proved, not guilty? At the end of this biopic on Gotti, I feel like I didn't learn anything about him.
Yeah, I mean, we know he really likes swear words. Mm-hmm. We know that.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. And one of the only things we know about him. We know that he loved his family. But we don't... It's a really interesting thing to me that we knew nothing about his other children. Like, I don't believe the sisters even have lines.
No, I don't think they do.
Like, I don't think the actresses who play his sisters ever speak. So this is a very interesting, like, outside of his mother, outside of Gotti's wife, Junior's mother, there are almost no female speaking roles in this movie.
No, it really isn't.
Yeah, I'm looking through here, and there really aren't. Because the top billed woman is Victoria, his wife.
Right.
And then the next two billed women are the sisters who don't speak.
Yes. And then I guess, like, Junior's wife, and then I think after that would be, like, news reporter.
Yeah, after that is Kim. I did get her name right. And then the children who played the sisters as young children, who were in one scene. And then we hit, like, nurses and barmaid.
Yeah, there's not a lot of women in this film.
No, there really aren't.
So any other bits of trivia that you found in your research that you wanted to bring to light?
So, Angelo was supposed to be Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci gained 30 pounds for the role.
Really? Wow.
And then they kind of cut the part down and cut his salary. And so he left acrimoniously with the film.
Huh. I think Angelo was in a Saw movie.
I have the IMDb page up. He is known for Identity.
Identity! That's how I know him.
He was also in Bird Box.
Oh.
He was Rick in Bird Box.
I think he was the guy who dies in the river.
He's also Ray in Stranger Things.
But, like, I had this memory of the guy who played Angelo in, like, an asylum. That's why I thought it was Saul. But now I realize it's Identity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly. All right, cool.
I mean, he's been working steadily for 30 years. He is clearly, like, he's a big Hey That Guy actor.
I thought he was in Saw 4, but I'm thinking of someone else.
Yes, because he was in Identity. I'm trying to look up the track listing, because I know you had a request for what the end of this show would be.
I'm sorry?
You had a request for the end of this show. For what the soundtrack... You wanted me to read the lyrics to the Pitbull song.
Oh, I do want you to read the lyrics to the Pitbull song really bad. Because, like, on top of everything, this song is Pitbull trying to win an Oscar.
Yep.
For Best Original Song. And it's... you guys are in for a treat, guys. Take it away, Miss Prince.
Oh, well, let's talk about what we're gonna do next week.
All right. We're gonna save it a little bit. So yeah, we're in a bit of a weird situation in that we thought Winchester was available online, but it is not.
No, it's not on Netflix or Amazon, and I haven't been able to find it in Redbox. And we've been trying to spend less than $5 on these movies because they're not.
That being said, because Robin Hood doesn't come out for another couple days.
Yeah, Robin Hood comes out on the 19th.
Winchester should still be what we watch next week.
Yeah. So if anybody has a copy of it, we can borrow.
Yeah, please. Because they took it off Netflix.
Yeah, that's very annoying.
But we're going to try to get our hands on that. Unless by some miracle Holmes and Watson lands in our lap. We'll probably be doing Winchester next week. So we didn't give this a stay doomed or a stay tuned.
Oh, do we still need to?
I think it's a stay doomed for me, but I do think this is a good drinking with your friends MST3K movie.
Definitely.
There are definitely some moments that will get some laughs. There's definitely a few moments where you could throw in some zingers because there's a good chunk of silence that shows up every now and then. It's a good movie to make fun of. It's fun bad. It is definitely fun bad.
Yeah, it does hit that point where, like, it's pretty fun. It's very, very silly. I want to point out, on the soundtrack, the song Give Me Everything does appear by Pitbull, which has a line, got me locked up like Lindsay Lohan. Which is a nice, like...
Yeah, it's like an Easter egg for those who know the lore behind the Gotti film. So, where can people find us?
Oh, man. People can find us on Twitter or Facebook at Stay Doomed, or they can email us at The Stay Doomed Show.
And
at gmail.com.
And say the website again, or the Gmail account again, please.
Or you can email us at thestaydoomedshow@gmail.com.
And if you want to talk to me about the 4 ways you can get out of the life, I'm at TV's Noah on Twitter.
If you want to do extensive, borderline weird research on the development of this film, I'm at Priorities.
Where can people see us live?
People can see us live on March 22nd through 24th at ZenkaiCon in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We will be doing Beyond the Tentacle, Fit to be Hentied, our stand-up comedy, and then we will be doing Walt Disney's America, which is about the depictions of Americana through the works of Walt Disney, and Stay Doomed Live.
Stay Doomed Live.
Thank you, Pitbull. Stay Doomed Live, which will be a live version of the show It will not be a podcast recording. It's going to be about what we've learned and how to tell if your favorite show isn't going to make it to season 2.
And now, a dramatic reading of the original song by Pitbull from the film Gotti.
They're dying to kill and living to die. Snub nose, headshots, if you touch anything that's mine. Respect, loyalty. Dan la vida por la familia. They live for the honor. They'll kill for the honor. They'll die for the honor. Wise guys take life from the box. Look judge in the eyes, put they hand on the Bible, and lie to you, only to leave something to the coroner. From the law, from the feds. Beep. Cops, pop, pop. Catch you at your favorite spots. Well-dressed little men, but dangerous. Go-getters, hustlers, gangsters. Everything organized, and if they hit us, it's a prize. 1 to the heart and 2 to the brain. Looks like he lost his mind. Let's ride. There's rules and codes. You don't break them for no one. Unless you're a fool, like that beeping prick, Sammy the Bull.
It's going down. I'm yelling timber. You better move. You better dance.
From nothing to something, scum to thugs, thugs to gangster, gangster to mobs, to no pot to piss in, the pasta and lobster. I'm a rock star.
It's going down. I'm yelling timber. You better move. You better dance.
All right. Until next time, stay tuned.